What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Cards and Coffee, and today I'm going to be giving you guys another deck profile. Now, I've done a couple of profiles already on the branded Despia deck, one being a budget build for people trying to save some money while building this deck, and another being the 3 structure deck build. And if that's something that interests you, please go down below, check out the link, and go watch those videos as well. But today, I'm going to be giving you guys my personal list of what I've been playing and having a lot of fun with. But first, as always, guys, please go grab yourself a cup of coffee or something. That way you guys can sit down and tune in. Let's do this. Alright, so like I said, this is going to be my profile of the current deck list that I've been playing, and I'll be completely honest with you, I find myself constantly taking cards in and out of this deck to accommodate all the different situations that I've been running into, whether it's online or even at locals. I've seen deck lists playing 40, 50, and even 60 cards, and again, there are so many different ways you can tech this deck out, so hopefully by the end of this profile, you guys can see not only what makes it great, but why it's one of my personal favorites right now. Starting things off, of course, we're going to be playing 2 of the best fusion material in your deck, 2 Fallen of Albaz. I'm sure most of you know, whether it's through watching my other profiles or seeing a bunch of other ones that have been put up on YouTube already, Fallen of Albaz, basically on normal or special, can discard a card to fusion summon using itself and your opponent's monster, which is really great at breaking boards, but the main reason we play this is because all of our fusions, at least the good ones, require this as a fusion material for our branded engine. So for that reason, I personally think you have to play 2, even though I think you could get away with running just the 1 copy. After the Albaz, we are playing 2 copies of Albur, the Gesture of Despia. I think 2 is the perfect number, at least in this build, because we are going to be playing the Adventure Package. I really like seeing this card, but when you see it alongside the Adventure Package, you're left with a very tough decision of, do you normal summon Albur, or do you go Adventure Package into Anaconda? And really, I guess it comes down to what else is in your hand, but I would honestly say 9 times out of 10, it's just better to normal the Albur, because getting your engine online fully is a lot better than just getting your Anaconda play going. To be completely honest, the only reason I like playing the Adventure Package in this deck, outside of being a free Anaconda, is when you do open something like the branded opening alongside it, it makes it to where your first turn combo is insane, and it'll play through so many hand traps. But not only that, Scythe is still a relevant card in the meta, and the Adventure Package is just another engine that lets you play under Scythe. And this deck already has ways to play even though you are Scythe locked, but the Adventure Package is definitely one of those key factors to being able to play, because at the end of the day, if you can get branded in red and maybe some cards in the grave, then even if you were Scythe locked, you're typically going to be in a good spot. Now, after the Albur, we are also playing 2 Tragedy. Looking forward to the new ultra rare printing of this card in Ghost from the Past 2. But, of course, you have to play 2 of this card. It's great for searching, and it's great for recurring your spells in the grave as well. Sometimes I like to try to leave this in the grave as long as possible, because there's a lot of times where your opponent will try to stop you from searching your power cards, and then they'll forget that this is in the grave, and you get those cards for free from the turn before. Again, this is a card you could play at 3 because it has so much synergy with the Adventure Package as well, but I think 2 at the end of the day is the perfect number, because I know for myself, I'm not trying to play 50 or 60 cards. Right now, this current list is at 45. For the last Despia monster, we are playing the 1 ad lib. This card is so amazing. I would even consider playing 2 just because of how great it is in the grind game, but we have ways to recycle it, so it's really not that big a deal. But at the end of the day, being able to recur your fusions constantly is so amazing, especially with Mirror Jade being able to use its effect to banish and then bring it back when you fuse with it and the ad lib and then use Mirror Jade a second time. It's pretty dang crazy, I gotta be real. Not only that, I did mention it in one of the other profiles, it does have a very cool effect that will bump up all your monsters' attack by its level times 100. So there are times with branded opening you could bring it out, buff all your monsters, and then fuse from there, and really you can set up some really cool OTKs if you do it correctly. So that's it for the branded Despia package, but rather than going all through the monsters and then moving on to the spells, I figured I'd just touch on all the engines in this deck because there are quite a few. So to keep with the Despia engine, I am playing 3 copies of branded opening. This is the teleport for the deck, which is really amazing. It's a quick play, so you could use it in the draw phase or even in the standby, and then of course you can discard a card that is not cost, so it'll even trigger Shaddoll monsters in Shaddoll builds, which I do plan on doing a deck profile as well, so comment down below if there are more people who are into seeing that. I need to know so that way I can make it for you guys. But that being said, this card is really amazing. It lets you resolve Alibur without normal summoning, and of course it has the graveyard effect to protect your fusions as well, which comes out more times than you'd actually expect. After the opening, we're playing 3 of the God card, 3 branded fusion. This is what makes the deck so amazing. Your opponent doesn't even need to control an extra deck monster, and it's just as strong as Shaddoll fusion. So as long as you're sending Albaz as one of the materials, and you don't mind only playing fusions that turn, this card is really insane. For the last branded card, I am playing currently 2 copies of Branded in Red. I've seen a lot of players bump this up to 3 recently, and I don't think that's wrong or incorrect, but 1, I am trying to keep the deck count lower, and 2, while drawing this card is really amazing because then you don't have to search it, I would really hate to brick on it and draw multiples because, to be completely honest, even though this deck has a lot of options, there are some choke points in this deck that are blatantly obvious, and if you're going to add multiples of cards that actually don't contribute to playing through hand traps or breaking boards, then you're risking bricking on them as well. So for that reason, I decided to play 2, but again, playing 3 really is not a bad option either. So like I said, that's it for the branded Despia engine. Moving on to the adventure package, it's pretty standard. First, we're playing 3 Water Enchantress, of course, like every deck. Of course, I've seen some builds play 2, but it doesn't really make sense to me. This is actually a really good extender for the deck. There's a lot of times you'll use this, get the rights, and then you'll use the rights to get the adventure and the token. And then, of course, instead of searching the Griffin, you'll actually search another copy of this. That way you could special it out, link the token into Spider to make the Anaconda play. And the reason you do that is because, again, you're going to link that stuff off anyway. So rather than linking off the Griffin, it's actually better to link off another copy of Enchantress. That way at the start of your next turn, you still have your adventure package online, even if they get rid of the Fateful Adventure on your field. Like I mentioned, we're playing the 1 Griffin. There are a lot of times you can stick this with the token and then resolve Branded Fusion, which is so insane. Plus, it gives you more fodder to fusion with as well when you're using something like Branded in Red to use Chimera's effect fully. Again, there are times where you almost have to hold the Griffin because you really can't risk your Branded in Red getting hit with something like Ghost Bell or having Called by the Grave hit your target, or even DD Crow hit the target with Branded in Red. So even though it's more efficient to use your Griffin Rider before using your Branded in Red, there's actually some good argument to use that Branded in Red while Griffin is live because resolving Chimera is really insane. Now, of course, like I said, really standard adventure package, so we're also playing 3 Rites of Aramasir, of course. No reason to explain that. We got the 1 Adventure and the 1 Draco back. I think these 9 cards have been in basically 99% of everybody's decks for the last month or so, and it's for a good reason. These cards are really amazing, and they have such great synergy with this deck, minus the confliction with Alibur. So that's it for the adventure package. Like I said, standard as heck. Nothing too fancy, but we do play 1 more package in this deck, and I keep taking this in and out, but right now I really like this, and I would totally understand if people don't want to play this, but I am playing the Fusion Destiny package, the 2 Destiny heroes along the 2 Fusion Destiny. At the end of the day, Fusion Destiny is really amazing, and the only confliction this deck has is if you draw this card with the adventure package, you're left in a decision where You either go Adventure combo with Griffin and then resolve the Fusion Destiny to make DP, or you go Anaconda and you get to get your Mirror Jade online, which gets your deck slowly rolling, but you didn't get to resolve this Fusion Destiny because Anaconda will prevent you from summoning again. So again, it's one of those things where you're left with decisions, and really it's all based on what else you might have in your hand, so I can't give you that answer at point blank. But if I'm completely honest, this engine is super amazing. DPE adds so much grind to the deck, and the OCG doesn't have this engine, so why the heck would we not play it ourselves? I think the best part about this engine is actually when you draw the bricks. They are still bricks, don't let people tell you otherwise, but they are fusion materials towards other fusion monsters, and you have a lot of ways to not only recycle these cards back into the deck to resolve your Fusion Destiny, but you can even hard summon DPE with your card effects as well without Fusion Destiny. So again, they're still technically bricks, but there are so many cool ways to cheese out that DPE. Man, honestly, this engine is super cool in this deck. I truly love it. So that's it for the engines, and again, you don't have to play the DP. Sometimes I play the Fluffle engine, sometimes I play neither, but right now in my testing, I've just had a lot of success with this, and I'm truly loving it. Now, before moving on to some of the tech choices to counter the meta, I wanted to go over some of the consistency cards. One, of course, being the Foolish Burial. It gets you your Enchantress, and it also sends Tragedy, so it's pretty easy to see how this contributes to consistency in the deck. For the last consistency card in the deck, some people play this, some people don't, but I personally love this card a lot in it. It is 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. This card has taken a little bit of a break, at least in the meta scene as far as I'm concerned, except for the Fluanderies deck, obviously, but in my opinion, this is the best pot card in the game. Even when Desires was at 3, I don't know, I just felt like this card offers so much consistency to the decks that can get away with playing it, and this deck is no different. There is a lot of tech options in your extra deck already, so being able to banish 3, at least on the first pot, is very easy, and if you really bricked and have nothing going for you, you can banish 6 with this card fairly easily. So again, in my eyes, this card adds another layer of consistency to this deck, and there are so many power cards and so many engines that you want online. Why not play a card that lets you see those cards more consistently? But that's just my opinion. I really love this card, so maybe I'm a little biased. Now, moving on to the tech options, we are of course playing the one Called by the Grave. Pretty sure 90% of the decks right now are going to be playing this. DPs running around, hand traps are everywhere, and like I said, this deck does have a couple blatantly obvious choke points, so having a card that can guarantee your cards going through is always a really amazing thing. The ceiling of this deck is pretty high, depending on how many fusion spells you have access to, but again, it's not as crazy as something like maybe the Sword Soul Tangy deck, but that being said, I just think cards like this and the Crossout Designator are very needed in this deck just to help guarantee your plays go through. Like I said, we're playing the 3 Crossout Designator. This card is super amazing, not only for helping you push through your hand traps, but there's a lot of mirror matches right now, and there's a lot of people on the adventure package, so this card has so many targets outside of stopping the hand traps. So really, in my eyes, this card is a staple 3, at least for this deck. And like I said, if this deck can resolve its first turn combo, you've got like a 90% chance of winning. So why not play the cards that help enable that? Now, with the Crossout Designator, we are playing a handful of hand traps, first being 3 copies of Ash Blossom. I personally think this is the best hand trap right now, especially with the branded fusion running around. You could play 1 or 2 of this if you're trying to fit other cards or maybe lower the deck count, because this deck can break boards fairly decently, as long as it doesn't brick, obviously. But that being said, extra hand traps always help, and this is just a great Crossout Designator target, because again, you're trying to resolve that branded fusion every time if you can. After the Ash, I'm playing 2 copies of Ghost Bell. This is actually slowly becoming my next favorite hand trap in the game right now. It's very good at stopping branded in red, and of course there's a bunch of other cards throughout the meta that it can stop, but the fact that it's a great card going second into the branded deck makes it to where, in my eyes, I definitely think this card is super viable right now, and for that reason I'm playing 2, 1 for myself and 1 for my Crossout, of course. After that, it's just 3 one-of hand traps, 1 being the Ghost Ogre. This is something I could easily see myself bumping to 2. It's super amazing right now with all the branded stuff, and I definitely miss having the second copy from time to time. After that, we do have 1 copy of Effect Veiler alongside 1 copy of Imperm. These cards are both seeing a lot of play, but then not seeing a lot of play. It's very weird because the meta is still being established. I still think these cards are pretty good, but again, they're more there for cross-out targets, and of course they have good application throughout whatever you might run into in the meta right now. For the last card in the deck, we are also playing one Forbidden Droplet. It's not a hand trap, but it is a going second card, and by playing the one, it is something you can use with Crossout Designator. And while it's not the best card right now because a lot of people are turboing into Arclight, it's still something that's very useful, and being able to pick and choose when you activate this card to negate effects is very useful, especially in something like the mirror match right now. Being able to pitch something to negate a Chimera or you name it, this is a very amazing card, and of course there are just some boards that this card can help you crack very easily. So that's it for the main deck. Again, 45 cards, nothing too fancy, just a lot of consistency, a lot of cards that help you play the game. And like I said, when this deck gets to resolve its combo, it's very hard to break, and the versatility this deck offers you makes it to where if there's something that you think your deck needs, it's very easy to take something out and swap it for something you think you're going to run into. Moving on to the extra deck, we are playing 2 copies of Guardian Chimera. Obviously, this card is super amazing. If it resolves, it's so hard for you to lose. Not only do you get to pop cards non-targeting, but you get to draw cards, so you can draw into more hand traps or more fusion fodder, or you name it. This card is so amazing for the deck. And if you played the Fluffle package, it can't be targeted either, so definitely something to consider when building the deck. After the Chimera, obviously we're playing 2 Lobelion. This helps recycle all your materials. Very, very important to your first turn play as well. After that, we're playing 2 copies of the Mirror Jade. Again, very standard. You could play 3, but it's up to you. You have the room, but personally, I like taking this deck out into different options just in case the scenario comes up. But in my opinion, this little lineup here is fairly standard across the board. After the Mirror Jade, we were playing 2 Albion, another card that I could easily see myself playing 3 of. This card does come up quite often when you're trying to dump it, and of course you do hard summon this from time to time as well. We don't play the Dragoon package, which is another fun package you could put in the deck, but really I find 2 is the sweet spot, but don't get me wrong, 3 does come up. For the last of the kind of branded fusion monsters that I play, I got the 1 Masquerade, which is really great, especially when you get your opponent insanely low. Sometimes you'll just win off of your opponent just not being able to activate cards. And the last is the Iron Dash Dragon. This is a very cool tech in the deck. This card is a very good removal card. It basically can pop cards in the same column as it, which is pretty neat. But the main reason I'm playing it is because in the OCG, the Contact C has been gaining a lot of popularity. Some people in the TCG have been trying to play it as well, and for that reason, I think this card should be in your extra deck. It does require 1 Albaz and 1 special summon monster. In case you don't know what Contact C does, if ever your opponent normals or specials a monster, you can special it to your opponent's side of the field, and then while it's on the field, your opponent can't fusion or link or exceed unless they use the Contact C. So for the Iron Dash Dragon, it just takes Albaz and a special summon monster. So it gives you a very easy target to use that Contact C with. Again, is it always going to come up? No. Is the popping effect going to come up? No, but game 2 and 3, you never know what your opponent's going to truly be siding, and just by playing this 1 card in the extra deck, you just guarantee you're not going to get cheesed out by the Contacting C. So in my eyes, since you have the room, and again, game 1, you can just banish it with Pot of Prosperity, I personally think this Iron Dash Dragon is a staple in my eyes. For the last of the fusions, of course, we're playing the 1 DPE. Like I mentioned, we have the Fusion Destiny package, so of course we're going to be playing this. The card's insane. It adds a lot of grind to your deck, and like I mentioned earlier, there's so many ways to make it. There's times my opponent has outed this card, and I've been able to recycle it and make it 2 or even 3 times in one duel. It's pretty crazy. After that, we have the Dragostapelia. This is very easy to make in your deck. Also, it's a pretty decent super poly target, which I do side deck. After that, we have the Starving Venom Dragon. Again, another super poly target and another card you can make in your deck. Both these 2 cards have their own merit and they're very great options for the deck. And since they have synergy with super poly, I figured, what the heck, why not play both? And like I said, they're great prosperity targets game 1 if you really don't see yourself using them. After the fusions, we play 2 Link monsters, the 1 Link Spider and the 1 Anaconda. I could have easily fit the Anima by cutting the Iron Dash or even the Starving Venom, but right now in testing, I've just been rolling with this. The Anima could easily go back in, but I don't know, more testing's needed, at least on my end, to really merit that as a staple. But in my eyes, these 2 for sure are guaranteed in the deck, helping you set up your play with your adventure package, even if you don't draw the branded engine. I'm not going to lie, there are times where a second Verte would be pretty cool, but I think that's more situational in my eyes, even though it has come up for me. But personally, I think what you see in front of you is the perfect ratio outside of maybe Anima. So that's it for the deck profile, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Nothing too fancy, but this list has been working very well for me. I was going to do some combos, but I figured what the heck, might as well make an entire video on it after the fact. So if that's something you're into, please comment down below. I can go through all the 1 and 2 and even 3 card combos for you. And I also have requests to make the budget build combos as well, so that's probably going to be something I make in the future as well. And again, if you haven't seen them, please check the link below. Those videos were a lot of fun to make. And once again, thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate all the support. This channel has been growing like crazy, and it's all thanks to you. Look out for a Twitch channel as well. We're hoping to start in the next week or 2. I'll let you guys know when I go live. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and ding the notification bell. That way you guys get all the notifications for when all this goes down. Once again, I appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. Here's hoping to see you guys next time. Peace.